Okay, folks, welcome back for another deep dive.
Always a pleasure.
You know it. So this time, we're tackling something pretty weighty, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You guys sent in a ton of stuff about this potential government shutdown
Yeah.
looming,
Right around the corner.
Yeah, December 20th.
Yep.
It's right around the corner.
Yep.
And it's like, how do we even, everyone's talking about it, but what does it actually mean?
Right.
So we're going to try to, break it down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Make it simple, get to those need-to-know points so you can be like, okay, I'm in the loop now.
Yeah.
And it's juicy.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking, Trump and Musk are somehow involved.
Of course they are.
It wouldn't be 2024 without it. And then, could our holiday plans be messed up?
Potentially.
And then there's that age-old question.
Oh, yeah.
Why does Congress get paid?
During a shutdown.
If everybody else is twiddling their thumbs.
Yeah. A lot to unpack.
A lot to unpack. So maybe let's start simple, right? What I want to say, a government shutdown. I think we all kind of know.
We kind of know.
But maybe not really.
Yeah.
Can you give us the definition, the expert definition?
Okay, so in the simplest terms, a government shutdown happens when Congress fails to pass the necessary funding bills to keep the government running.
Okay, so it's not like the lights go out across the whole country.
Not quite, no.
Why?
It's more like I always think of it like hitting force quit on your computer for essential services.
Okay, that's a good analogy.
For some programs, the ones considered non-essential, those get shut down.
Okay.
Until that funding comes back.
Gotcha. And in this case, we're talking midnight, December 20th. That's the deadline.
That's the drop-dead date.
Yeah, not a great holiday present.
Not ideal.
All right, so Congress, they got to pass this funding bill, right?
Right.
And I guess we should explain, there are all these different departments
Yes.
that need money to function, right? Everything. Yeah.
From, I don't know, national parks to the IRS.
Absolutely. They all need their piece of the pie.
So where's the holdup this time? Because we keep hearing this term, continuing resolution.
Ah,
It
yes.
sounds very inside baseball-y.
It does, doesn't it? But it's actually pretty straightforward.
Okay.
It's basically like a temporary fix.
Okay.
Instead of hashing out a whole new, big, massive spending bill.
Right.
They say, okay, let's just keep things running at the current funding levels,
Mm-hmm.
but just for a little bit until we can figure out the bigger stuff.
Like a Band-Aid.
Yeah, exactly. A financial Band-Aid.
Okay, and this time they're talking about kicking that can, I guess, until March of 2025.
That's the proposal on the table right now.
So it's a pretty long Band-Aid.
It's a pretty substantial Band-Aid.
Yeah, okay. But there's always a but.
Right. Reading through what you guys sent in, there are some, shall we say, interesting characters involved in all this.
This wouldn't be a government shutdown without a little bit of drama.
Exactly. So who are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, you've got Donald Trump
Of course.
and Elon Musk.
Right.
Both of them have come out pretty forcefully against this continuing resolution.
Yeah. I don't even know, do they agree on WHY? They're against it?
Their reasons might differ, but the point is they're both creating a lot of noise.
And noise in this case means what?
Yeah.
They could actually derail this whole thing.
He absolutely could.
Oh, wow.
Especially on the Republican side, right?
Yeah. Right.
Trump still holds a lot of sway over the base.
Yeah.
And Musk, well, anything he says seems to get amplified like crazy.
Right, that's true. So even if everyone thought, okay, CR is the way to go, these two could mess it all up.
Yeah, it's a real wild card because if enough Republicans decide to side with them,
Right.
suddenly getting enough votes to pass that continuing resolution becomes a lot harder.
Oh, man. Okay, so let's say worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get the votes. This thing goes into effect. The shutdown happens.
Right.
What does that actually look like?
Well, for a lot of federal employees, it means furloughs.
Furloughs,
Meaning they're told, don't come to work.
Oh, wow.
And, oh, by the way, you're not getting paid.
Ouch.
Right. So you can imagine you're a park ranger, you're working at Yellowstone, suddenly no paycheck right before the holidays.
Yeah, that's not good.
A lot of stress, especially for families.
Right. And it's interesting because, we talk about it in these kind of abstract terms like the government shutting down, but
Yeah,
this is real people's lives.
absolutely. Real impact.
So national parks, that's one thing. What else could be affected by all this?
Oh, a ton of stuff. You mentioned you were thinking about going to Yosemite, right?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Shutdown happens, national parks, they're all closed
Oh,
right when everyone's trying to travel for the holidays.
oh yeah.
And it goes beyond that.
Okay.
You could see delays in food safety inspections, visa processing, passports, even air travel.
Wow. So it's not just like minor inconvenience. Some of this stuff is pretty important.
Yeah, it can have a ripple effect.
Right. It's like, wait, you're telling me some people have to stay home from work, no pay,
Right.
but then other people, they're considered essential, so they have to work, but also no pay.
It's a weird situation.
It is weird.
Essential workers, air traffic control, law enforcement,
Right?
they got to keep things running, but they don't get their paychecks until after the shutdown ends.
That's got to feel unfair.
It does, yeah.
And then, of course, there's the big one, right?
The elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room. Congress and the president, they still get paid, right?
Yeah. That's always a point of contention.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, not a great look, right?
Not really, no. Especially when you've got all these federal employees struggling.
It feeds into that whole narrative of, politicians are out of touch.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about the human side of things,
Mm-hmm.
but what about the economy overall? Like,
Yeah.
how much damage does a shutdown actually do?
Well, the longer it lasts, the worse it gets. The general estimate is that each week of shutdown shaves off about 0.2% of the GDP.
Now, I got to admit, 0.2% doesn't sound like a lot,
Right.
but I'm guessing it adds up.
It absolutely does. Think about all the businesses that rely on government contracts, government services.
Right.
All of a sudden, everything grinds to a halt. That uncertainty,
Yeah.
it can ripple through the whole economy
But it is interesting, right? Because we've had shutdowns before,
many times.
and somehow the economy always seems to bounce back.
Yeah, there's a certain resilience there.
It does make you wonder, like, is it all just kind of, I don't know, political theater?
There's definitely an element of that.
But it's still real people being affected in the meantime.
Absolutely.
And I guess that's what we got to remember, right?
For sure.
Okay, so big picture. Where do things stand right now? Is there any hope of avoiding this thing?
Well, the pressure's definitely on.
Yeah.
President Biden just came out, urging Congress to do the right thing,
Right.
avoid a shutdown, talking about how it would hurt real people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've got those factions we talked about
Right.
digging in their heels, and the clock is ticking.
It's a real nail biter, isn't it?
It is.
We're recording this a few days out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think there's any chance of a last-minute deal?
It's Washington, so anything's possible.
Right.
There could be some compromise that emerges, at the 11th hour.
Fingers crossed.
But it's going to take both sides being willing to give a little.
Yeah. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
What is a shutdown, the politics behind it,
The players.
the players, the impact,
The stakes.
the stakes, man, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important, right?
Absolutely crucial for people to understand.
Especially as we're heading towards this December 20th deadline.
Yeah. Informed citizens, that's what we need.
So here's a question for all of you listening, right?
I like it.
Knowing all this, what do you think is going to be the deciding factor?
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it going to be political pressure?
Public outcry.
Public outcry? Will Trump and Musk, will their influence be the thing that tips the scales?
Yeah, that's the big question.
What do you guys think? Let us know.
We want to hear from you.
And remember, this is just like scratching the surface.
Yeah, this is a deep dive, but it's a complex issue.
We've got some links in the show notes.
If you want to go down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, go down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, even though it's all this uncertainty,
Right.
staying informed, that's the best thing we can do.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
All right, folks. Well, on that note,
And that note,
keep those brains buzzing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
see you then.